What's happening, everyone? And welcome to episode 2 of my podcast. And well, it's time to recap the NBA Cup, which ended last night. And it was not a very exciting game. It was an exciting matchup for a basketball fan like myself, as you had the Thunder facing the Bucks. I'm not going to pat my own self in the back, but I did kind of predict these two to be matching up when the semifinals were going on. And I was excited. I thought it was going to be a close game. Giannis, Dame going up against Shea and the rest of his boys, but ultimately the Bucks just overmatched the Thunder, which kind of honestly surprised me. I thought we were going to have a better game, and I thought the Thunder had a pretty decent chance of winning the whole thing. So did the sports books. They had them favored anywhere between 5 to 5.5 points, but the Bucks just handed it to them. And the thing that really stuck out for me watching this game is just how the Bucks were able to just dominate the boards. Um, it just seemed like the Thunder were always one and done. They would miss a shot, and that was the end of the possession. They didn't really get second chance points from the looks of it, and the Bucks just seemed bigger. And obviously, the Thunder are missing Chet Holmgren, so that is a big for them. Except he's not very bulky. He's just a tall, lanky guy, but he does spread the floor out because he can shoot. But when it comes down to size, maybe this is good for the Thunder in the long run because it exposed the fact that when they face up against some bigs that, got some meat on their bones, they need a little more help other than Isaiah Hartenstein. So we'll see what happens from this. It might not be that big of a deal, but ultimately, I mean, good for the Bucks. They've kind of righted their ship. The season started off super rocky, and now they've been playing some good ball. This gives them momentum. This obviously kind of puts them up there now as a possible threat to the Boston Celtics, which makes things exciting, at least in the East, because it really looked like it was the Celtics, the Cavs, and everybody else. But now you can kind of add the Bucks to that mix. So those three, Cleveland, Boston, Milwaukee, can kind of be battling it out. And then the other team that may come and start matching up with them. Obviously, Philly has what seems to be all the pieces, but they just can't get it right. They can't get on the court and healthy. Embiid got hit in the face the other day again, so he is always dealing with an injury. So hopefully he can get healthy and that team can kind of, make it even more interesting in the East. The one thing I will talk about with the NBA Cup is obviously people don't know if it's working, if it's not working. This is the second year of this. In my opinion, I think it just needs some time. I think it will eventually work. But I do think that one of the things that is maybe hurting the NBA and, affecting fans not really, buying in is the fact that it just seems like the quiet part is being said out loud, which someone like me likes because I'm a kind of no BS type of guy. I just be upfront. I mean, we know that this is these guys' jobs and nothing's going to motivate them more than money for the majority of the players, I would assume, because that's just how the world works. But I do think that there's something to it when, the prize is essentially saying hey, we're going to have these guys play and battle it out for money. The quote unquote love of the game is kind of taken out of it. When these guys show up to the NBA Cup and they're walking right by the cup and kind of pay it no mind. The NBA had a post of, some photos, and the players are just kind of not really paying attention to the cup. And again, in reality, in real life, if you're a player and someone's like, what means more to you, holding up the cup or cashing in the check? I would assume if you gave everyone truth serum, the money is what matters ultimately for these guys. Maybe the trophies matter for the franchises, but ultimately good for these guys to get paid. And I'm not blaming them, but I do think that when that's kind of out in the open like that, it kind of just, doesn't really value the product for what it is, as far as hey, check out this competition. These guys are putting their heart and soul in it to be crowned and be called champions. It's very out in the open with the NBA Cup that these guys are out there putting their effort, their heart, and their soul out on the line for a check. And that's the truth. That's the reality. But a lot of people, can't really handle that reality. And so that might be a turnoff for some people to kind of get into it. Like I said, for me, that's reality. So I don't mind it. If I was a player, I think that's what, would be motivating me to be able to help my family out and all that. Obviously, the legacy is important, but I think the legacy starts mattering for some of these guys like Giannis, like the LeBrons of the world. But when, you're the sixth guy in the lineup, first guy off the bench, something like that. I think obviously you want to feel financially secure. This is your job. So again, I'm not knocking the players at all. but that's just the truth. And I do think as the years continue, that'll, keep kind of maybe, people will get used to it. They'll understand how the tournament works and they'll start figuring it out. And I think the NBA is going to get better at marketing it. And obviously, just like anything, when it's new, it takes some time, but it gets better and better. I think this year's tournament was better than last year's tournament. I think, even the games during the regular season on Tuesdays and Fridays were better. And so all of that matters. And like I said, in the grand scheme of thing, it'll all kind of come full circle. And then ultimately, I think there is some real momentum with something like this. Now with the Bucks winning, and it kind of is a nice little, top of the mountain midway through the season thing for them. And we'll see how they go from there. Obviously now it kind of feels like, kind of in middle of the season type thing to try to get everyone through to the All-Star break. And that's another thing that is, maybe another thing to bring up is that the NBA just announced the new format for the All-Star game, which again, it'll be changed because it hasn't been working. And that's no secret. The NBA obviously hasn't really been happy with how the All-Star game has been because the players haven't really shown effort. They really haven't played any defense. They're more worried about trying to not get hurt than the pride of, winning the All-Star game. And again, it's not a knock on the players. This is a business. This is their job. And when we think back of the Kobe Bryants of the world and all this, of course, like those guys, maybe the motivation was different. Maybe, it's just a different breed and times have changed. And again, like, these guys don't want to get hurt and cost themselves bonuses and all that. So it's changing the format. Even a league that, is very successful like the NFL had to get rid of the Pro Bowl because of that. So they don't have their version of the All-Star game anymore, really, because guys don't want to get hurt. It could cost them a lot of money and, a lot to their families. So again, it's not a knock on it, but hopefully the NBA can figure it out. There's no, I don't think, right answer. It's tough when you're dealing, obviously, with these mega contracts that these guys are now dealing with. But we'll see how that evolves as time moves forward. But ultimately, the NBA Cup this year, I thought it was a pretty good success. Giannis played incredible. He was 1 assist shy from a triple-double. And he's kind of knocking on the door back again to, remind people like, hey, I might be the best player in the league. And so Giannis is, playing great. Him and Dame seems like they have a good connection. And that team, Chris Middleton didn't even play today. And he's been kind of dealing with an injury and getting back. So once they get fully healthy, maybe they can definitely make a run. And we'll see how everything evolves now as the season progresses. The NBA Cup, though, well done, NBA. I think ultimately it's going to keep growing and be a better product. And ultimately we shall see where that goes. And that's that. So NBA Cup wrap. Good job. Congratulations to the Milwaukee Bucks. I'm playing a great game, really shutting down the Thunder. And we'll see if this actually makes a difference for them moving forward. Ultimately, if they were to make the finals and play a team like very well could be Milwaukee, it's a little bit scary if you're a Thunder fan because it did not look like they could keep up with them. They did not shoot well from three at all. So maybe that's an outlier. But the Bucks seem to have control of this game pretty much, especially in the whole second half. It seemed like the Thunder just could not keep up with them. So we'll see what happens, and we'll see if there's any more deals going on. The Thunder have a lot of ammo to make a deal or make multiple deals. They have good contracts. They have a lot of draft picks. So they could even get a buyout guy because they're a great team. So ultimately we'll see. Oh, and one more thing I was going to mention, the prize money thing. It's also probably harder for these guys to get motivated when, for example, in the game between the Bucks and the Thunder, it's the championship game, and it's advertised everywhere that the winning team is going to win every player will win $500,000. But from the losing team, every player is taking home $200,000, a little bit over $200,000. So when you think of it that way, really the prize money is $300K. Still a lot of money, but for some of these guys, that plays a role into it. Once you make the NBA Cup, you've guaranteed yourself a little over $200K. So you're happy. That's a pretty big bonus for a lot of guys in the bottom of the lineup. And like I said, maybe the top two on each team really care about the legacy and about having that on their resume, because the $300K might not make too much of a difference for Giannis or Dame. or Shea. But ultimately, that I don't know. Maybe the incentive will be more if it's like, hey, the losing team, you walk away with nothing. But obviously, there's a CBA, and the players aren't going to allow that because they don't want to play a game for free. Which again, I wouldn't want to do that either. So I don't get it. It's a tough dilemma, but that's the world that we live in, and we'll see how it all goes, how it evolves as the seasons go on. Ultimately, I know people have been talking about the NBA ratings going on and all this. The NBA is fine. They just signed a new TV deal. So, until that TV deal starts kind of wrapping up and kind of, coming down to the last year or two before they got to renegotiate, the ratings, they matter, but they're not, I don't think, going to be that big of a deal in the grand scheme of things. And we'll see. We'll see how they continue to evolve and continue to make it more fun for fans. And I'm very excited about where this is going. So we shall see. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, share it if you want, comment, let me know what you think. And I'd love to have some dialogue and talk about people's thoughts. So, all right, I'll be back with another episode soon. Maybe talking about some NFL because I'm going to talk NFL. All right, until next time.